Stations. It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
It's Friday. Do you have the expansion blues, conference expansion downers? Are you troubled? Stay with us. May not be the end of the world. In fact, we're going to talk this whole thing out with a guy who we always have on for the business of sports. Usually it's Bulls. It's our own Steve Earhart, who you know was the assistant commissioner of the USFL in its initial beginning. He was the commissioner of the old WBL, the World Basketball League that was 6'6" and under. He was the guy. He was the man. Been a GM, knows the business incredibly well, and in fact runs a bowl that has a Big 12 representative. What is he hearing? What does he think is going to happen? We'll let you know. I heard, there was some guy yesterday. Made it seem like the world was coming to an end. There was no hope for the University of Memphis. They might as well go to Division II. That is not the case, according to Brett McMurphy, who says Memphis is still very much in the bowl expansion race. It just depends on the Pac-12. Has George Klavakov, has he done a horrible job since he took over? Since he became the commissioner of the Pac-12, they lost USC, UCLA. Oregon wants into the Big Ten, too, with Washington. The Arizona schools are waiting for a TV deal before they decide whether they're going to go to the Big 12, too. If he can come up with a big TV deal, go George, then they're going to add 1 to 3 other schools besides Colorado, which is now officially going to be in. Those schools, out of the 3 remaining slots, there's 4 that have been mentioned by McMurphy. Memphis and UConn, San Diego State, and UNLV. They don't even mention Boise. I don't know why. But those are the schools still in it. On top of that, Jim Phillips, who is the commissioner, for now anyway, of the ACC, because I have no idea what's going to happen with him. Jim Phillips was the athletic director prior to coming to the ACC to be the commissioner. He was the AD at Northwestern. He's denied any knowledge of hazing or what was going on in Fitzgerald's program. But if he's tied there, I don't know how long he'll be the commissioner of the ACC. But he says they are definitely open to expanding. Florida State has been trying to get out. They want to go with Clemson to the SEC. The payout is incredibly penal. I don't think it's going to happen. And, you know, they could actually start the process of expansion before Florida State even tries to pull out. They have until August 15th to, make a move or declare something, and they do not have a board of directors meeting scheduled before August 15th. So one assumes they're staying in the ACC at least this year. It's all crazy, but I'll just say this. First off, I don't get UConn. Sorry, I know. The guy that is the commissioner now of the Big 12, Brett Yormark, he loves basketball. He thinks basketball is really important. Everybody else, will tell you football is steering the ship, and it is. But he is a basketball guy. And last I looked, J-Mo, you know who the defending champions of the NCAA are?
Who's that?
That would be UConn. And so UConn, and they still have a football team. Let me just say this. I don't get the attraction for UConn. First of all, they didn't want to be out of the Eastern time zone. And that was a big, big point of discussion when they were considering leaving the American. Well, we hate playing those games in Wichita, Dallas. Don't get home till 3 in the morning because we lose an hour. They really belong in the ACC. That's where Jim Phillips should look if they're going to go that way. I mean, let's face it, they were a Big East school where Syracuse and Louisville are now. I just don't get that. First of all, the football stadium is well older than the Liberty Bowl, than Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium, excuse me. Much older. It is in Hartford, which is an hour away from campus. And if you play games on campus for basketball, guess what? There's not a hotel. There's not a hotel in Stores. You think I'm making this up? When we stayed there, they have this one dorm that they set aside for visiting teams. I'm not kidding you. I think the first 2 floors are hotel, and the rest, and there's only like 5 stories to this thing, the rest is a dorm. So if you're staying on the second floor or you have a team meeting on the second floor, you get in these elevators, smell marijuana all over the place. That was before it was legal, too. They are the defending champions. They do have a lot of basketball history. They were really good at one time for like 2 years in football.
But and they were better last year in football. They're getting better in a lot of ways.
They made a bowl for the first time in how many years? 20?
Yeah, it's been forever. It seems like.
That was what, 500? They were 6-6.
Yeah, that's right. But it seems like if you're going to make that basketball argument, Gonzaga doesn't hurt you at all in football. Like they don't have, because the argument against UConn is their football team drags you down much.
But that argument, I don't believe. I think the president has made it pretty clear they would not take UConn just basketball. If you were doing basketball only, you could add UConn and Gonzaga. Right. If Gonzaga wanted to come along, why would Gonzaga come along?
I agree. You have it set up in your league. You make the finals basically every year in your conference tournament. That's right.
And you know what? You're making money out of the rear end. You get your own TV deal.
I agree.
I don't know why you would leave. You don't play football. So it makes no sense to do that if you're Gonzaga. And UConn, well, if you got a full share, it's $32 million. That's the whole thing. And that's why Colorado decided to jump, because they get a full share of being a Power 5 school. Remember, that kind of rule has changed now. If you're not Power 5, we'll see how all that works out, because I believe Cincy, UCF, and Houston got full shares. They get $32 million. That's their share this year, or it will be next year. That's what Colorado will make next year, or the year after, excuse me, because they're not in this year. But nobody knows what the Pac-12 is going to make because they haven't done the deal yet. It's wild stuff. I just, if you're looking at UConn, San Diego State, UNLV, Memphis, geographically, facility-wise, I just don't understand how you wouldn't take Memphis in that mix. I just don't. Especially UConn. That makes no sense to me. Now, UNLV, maybe. Big market. San Diego State, maybe. But that's way west.
Maybe we're not weighing the national championship heavily enough in basketball.
Well, I think that's got to be what Yormack is really in love with. The fact that you still have a football program, which they didn't kill football, and you've got a national champion. Now you take that with Texas Tech, Baylor, all those TCU, all those schools that are still in, that looks pretty good. I get that. But Memphis has, last 2 years, made the tournament. Memphis has been to 4 Final Fours, 2 championship games. Seems to me there's tradition and history there. Football program's been pretty good the last few years. In fact, what did we say? Since 2014, last 9 years, what did I say? I think they were the 14th winningest program in America. I know last year was sort of a bummer, but you still went to your 9th straight bowl. This is a big year. I hate to put the pressure on Ryan, but it's a significant year. That is for certain. So we're going to talk about that with Steve Earhart and probably Brian Dacus toward the end of the day. Penny Hardaway spoke yesterday. By the way, so did Sean Payton. We got to get into that. Sean Payton's comments. I want you to look those up, if you will, please. Because, my gosh, are they damning. It's like he didn't – that's almost like a guy who didn't know he was on the record, the way he said stuff. But maybe that's why we like Sean Payton. But let me get to Penny first. So Penny's getting ready for the Dominican. I think they leave Monday or Tuesday. And they go to New York. They're going to play 3 games. The crazy thing is you walked in and the place was buzzing, and it wasn't because they're going to the Dominican. It was because they signed Jaquan Walton. That one, I must confess, our man Munzie, he told me about that about a week and a half ago. Couldn't nail it down, didn't want to, go somewhere where he wasn't sure, but he was pretty sure. So if you don't know who Jaquan Walton is, highly ranked player out of Montgomery, Alabama, signed with Georgia. Played in a bunch of games his freshman year. I don't know if he ever started, but he was solid. And after his second game his sophomore year, he got upset and quit. Went junior college route. Then last year played at Wichita State, was their leading scorer. Walton had 14 points, 5.5 rebounds, something like that. Against Memphis, he had 14 points, 3.5 assists on average in the 2 games. He was really good against the Tigers. 6'7" guy, 40% three-point shooter. Nobody close on the Memphis roster to 40%. 63% total field goal. Now, DeAndre Williams was in that neighborhood. You got 2 guys like that? Woo, if you get DeAndre Williams. Now, he left, full disclosure, he went from Wichita State to Alabama. While at Alabama, in a car was stopped. There was marijuana and guns found. Penny said something like charges were dropped or he didn't get charged. But Alabama distanced themselves, based on what happened with Brandon Miller, distanced himself from Jaquan Walton right off the bat. So he was out there. He then decided he was going to go to UCF, but I don't think he ever showed up at UCF. And Penny said it's because he really wanted to come to Memphis. So now he's here. And that seems to be a pretty darn good addition. He was asked about both Williams, Mikey, and DeAndre. Still feels good about DeAndre because of precedent. And that's the key. Get DeAndre, and really you're done now, even though you lost TFL Leonard. This kid makes up for that. But no word on DeAndre from the NCAA. And, of course, no word yet on Mikey. Now, I asked him about Mikey. I said, well, Penny, what kind of time frame can you get here? His court date is September the 8th. That's 8 days after classes start. What's the timeline? What's legal here? And he goes, I'll be honest with you, Dave, I got to check on that. I don't really know. So I suspect he probably knows, but it's not saying. But so we don't know really and truly if Mikey Williams can come. I don't even know what the rules are for the University of Memphis. Each university has rules as to what can be accepted on campus. And so I don't know anybody who knows it at this point. So we'll have to wait on him for sure. I guess this means goodbye to Malcolm Dandridge. Malcolm has not been mentioned in the last 3 weeks. So Malcolm, I don't know what he's waiting for, but Malcolm should end up on a roster here pretty soon because he probably needs to. His second summer session started?
Yeah, I believe it starts.
Okay, so he's not going to go to a summer session. Right?
Yeah, probably not.
Okay. Yeah, because they'll report and they'll start going to off-season weightlifting and kind of running with your team and
Maybe
stuff
each
like
one's
that.
about 6 weeks. I always thought I remember it being like a month though. Like each one's about 4 weeks.
Okay. And then he was asked a little bit, because he mentioned it, and I kind of asked him about, last year, all that success, that was the best year of Penny's regime. I know they didn't win the first round. They did win a first-round game in the NCAA the year before. But I really liked last year's team because everybody played their role. They had two great stars, and they deferred to those two stars. And honestly, they should have beaten FAU, and they should have gone at least to the second round, to the third round, to the Sweet 16. Didn't work out. They didn't get the timeout. Okay, I get it. Their star player kind of blew the game. I hate to say it, but if we really sit back and look at the end of the game, why Kendrick Davis didn't call timeout or why he threw the ball up, why he didn't take a foul, I'll never quite understand that. They had that game won. But the key there is everybody knew their role and played their role. So now he's got all these guys that were the best players on their team. Walton was the best player on his team. Jordan Brown was the best player on his team in the Big East. Caleb Mills was the best player on his team in Florida State. Who's the star? Who's going to play a role? That's the key for Penny Hardaway. He said he will get them to buy in. I asked him how. He said, I'm going to show them statistics that will show you that if you play a role and are on a winning team and are disciplined, your chances of getting drafted are better than just being a scorer. That's what he said. And I hope that works. It worked last year because he got those guys to buy in. Everybody knew the scorer was KD. The second option was Williams. Williams was going to get the rebound. Make sure you assist. They had a good assist to turnover ratio last year, good assist to field goals made ratio last year.
But to your point, those guys coming in were the other guys you're saying that aren't Kendrick Davis and DeAndre Williams. Those were like career role guys. Like I think of McCadden like coming in. Like one of the things that attracted me to him was that he was very clearly comfortable playing a role. His statistics at previous years showed that, which was contrary to what had taken place the year prior. And so that would the thing I would be weary of. All these guys being so proficient would be, can they play that role?
I'm totally with you. I want to see him do it. Because every one of these guys was the guy on their team. And now they may not be the guy on their team. I don't know what the pecking order will be. Penny's going to figure that out and make their roles, but I want to see them buy in. If they buy in, they could be really, really good. That's for sure. Last thing on Penny. He said, I'm going to accept the suspension. And I think he thinks he should have done it earlier, even though he does not think he is at fault. But he's taken the blame. He goes, I was wrong. I don't know if he really believes that, but that's what he's saying now. And I think if they hadn't appealed the first time, it would have been maybe 2 games and not 3. So, but you still, I think, would have lost. The second game is Missouri. So you still would have lost that game. I think that's right. So that's all put to bed. They're going to go down there. Let's see what happens with both Williams, and we'll go from there. Sitting in the Family Leisure Studios, that summer clearance sale, still going on, going to go on through August, by the way. So you got plenty of time to help them clear out their inventory for fall product, including do-it-yourself pools where you can get $1,000 off. $1,000 off if you install it yourself. Special 24-foot round pool, less than $2,000. Now you're really talking cheap. Select play gyms down to $18.99 and patio furniture 30% off. There is some same as cash financing available through August on this summer clearance sale at Family Leisure. So Major League Baseball, I think is so interesting this year. And one of the big reasons is we got a player that honestly, in your lifetime, you probably will never see the likes of again. I don't know that we have a true appreciation of what Shohei Ohtani is doing. It's amazing. Shohei Ohtani last night, first time in his career, pitched a complete game. 1 hit shutout. Struck out 8. Complete game. I know the manager wanted to take him out, and he goes, no, I'm going to finish. First complete game of his career. 9 innings pitched.
Tigers, though. I mean, I don't mean to diminish it.
Last I looked, they've been in the American League for 100 years.
They have been.
Yeah. Major league team?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In Detroit?
They sure are.
Yeah, on the road.
But he had a 7.11 ERA in the month of July going into the game.
Well, his season ERA is 3.43 now. He's 9-5.
Yeah. First time past 7 innings all year. So it was an incredible game, and they beat the tar out of him twice yesterday.
Well, hold on. This is why it's amazing. This is why part of the reason why I think the Angels can't trade him, because you can't get enough in return. Because you really need to get 2 players in return. 2 stars in return for 1 guy. Because Shohei is a great pitcher. He was a great pitcher last night. He threw near 100 almost the whole game. Struck out 8, as I said, in 9 innings. 1 hit, that's all they got. They are a major league team. In the second game of the doubleheader, he has to leave late in the game because of cramps. But before he leaves, he's 2 for 3. Those 2 hits, home runs. 2 home runs. Now he's got 38 on the year, still on pace to get to the 60s like Aaron Judge did last year. This is crazy. And you think about it, if the Angels, I'm certain this is why they didn't trade him. If the Angels were to trade him, you have to get to replace him a starting pitcher and a designated hitter with power. It's 2 guys. Who's got that to give up? Or you'd have to give up your whole farm team. It's crazy. How much do you think about it, how much will Shohei Ohtani, how much is he worth on the free agent market next year? He's got to be worth $500,000-$600,000.
Yeah, I mean, there's no telling. There's really no telling. Like
because he's said, two positions.
Yeah, you're right. And the best DH in baseball.
I mean, you're talking about a starting or your ace or your number 2 pitcher and the best DH in baseball. That's what you're trading, or that's what you're signing.
I'm not as big on him as a pitcher, I don't think. You know, I mean, a good game yesterday.
On a team that is fighting for wins, trying to get into the playoffs one way or another, he is 9-5 with a 3.43 ERA.
He's got great swing and miss stuff, but he just loves throwing fastballs, and he just gives up too many runs. I mean, he just gives
his
up
ERA
too
is
many
3.43. That's upper 50%.
Well, he's got, like you said, he's got great swing and miss stuff, but he just gives up home runs in every game. I mean, he really. But he's the best DH in baseball. That's the thing I think that really sets him apart. And the fact that he can pitch at all makes him a notch above everybody else, it seems like.
I love baseball. I love it for this discussion that we're having. The other thing is how we keep these incredible records. Earlier this past week, for the first time since 1884, what other sport does this? For the first time since 1884, ladies and gentlemen, there was a triple play that started center field to first base to third base, where Austin Riley, by the way, the kid from DeSoto County, he made the final third out. Last time there was an 8-3-5 triple play. This was Boston and Atlanta the other day, and Atlanta turned the trick on Boston. It was another Boston team in 1884. They pulled the trick. The Boston Bean Eaters. We couldn't have a name like that in this day and age.
What a franchise name right there.
Boston Bean Eaters. You know who they did that against?
Who did they do that against?
The Providence Grays. Can't make this stuff up. The Boston Bean Eaters and the Providence Grays in 1884 triple play. Last time you saw 8-3-5. The only other time you saw an 8-3-5 triple play. I love it.
Proud Providence franchise.
And I must say, Are the Cards about to be sellers? Cubs beat them again. This was crazy. Did you see this play last night?
Yeah, it is ridiculous.
I'm going to go with you, and I think it changed the complexion of the game. I really do. In the favor of the Cubs. Although Cubs win 10-3, this all happened in the very first inning. 2 outs in the first inning, and at bat is Ian Happ.
Mm-hmm.
Happ, you know how players now have that upward trajectory swing? They're swinging up on the ball to try to knock it out of the ballpark. Sometimes the follow-through is dangerous, especially if a catcher is leaning in. And inadvertently, because Happ and Wilson Contreras are buddies. They were teammates for years with the Cubs. He hits him in the head, and it causes bleeding. So I think that was it a foul tip or something? Because Happ stays in to bat.
Yeah, I think it was like the first strike. It was just a swing and miss.
Yeah, swing and miss. So Contreras has to go out. They bring in Kisner. He did a good job, by the way. But the next pitch, Miles Michaelis is in, and he brushes him back. Okay. Expected, and then he hits him. Not totally unexpected. And by the way, Happ takes it, starts to run toward first base. No word said. Umpires meet. Ejected Michaelis, which I don't think they should have.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, this is like the unwritten rules of baseball. The batter hits the guy. Even if it's inadvertent, you got to pay a price.
Nary a confrontation. Happ didn't say a word.
No.
Michaelis didn't say a word. It was all like respectful, as respectful as something like that could be. Hit him in the hip, the fattest part of his body,
right.
Like all the meat. It didn't hurt him at all. He just ran to first base and he was ejected. It's ridiculous. I've never seen anything like it.
And then Oliver Marmol comes out and he's just arguing, saying, Happ didn't say a word. The Cubs didn't say a word. He hit our guy. You know baseball. That's the way it should be. He starts to walk away, and the umpire tosses him. He shouldn't have been ejected. Neither should have been ejected. Change the game. Cubs win 10-3.
The Cubs the dugout is literally laughing as he walks off the field because of how ridiculous this entire thing is taking place. It's absurd.
I never heard any explanation from the umpires. I really don't know what they could say because I think they blew it.
Agreed.
And it changed it. Who knows? Cubs are hitting, since the All-Star break, they average over 7 1/3 runs per game. And they got 10 last night. Now, maybe 3 in the first inning were gifts. But they did score 7 more after that. And now they're at 500 for the first time since May 19th.
Cubs are coming for that division.
Here we come, baby. Here we come. Love it. Title sponsors Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch. Go check it out. Look at all the cars on the lot, and you're going to go, wow. And let me tell you, once you do business with Homer Skelton Hyundai, because of Chris True and the gang that's been there together, you're going to stay. You're going to do business with them for a long time, just like I have. For about 15 years now, man, they treat you right. They know the business. They're going to make sure you are taken care of. And it isn't far away, right down Highway 78. That's Lamar, first exit. In Mississippi is Craft Road, turn left. You're there. You'll love it. I promise you. And ask about the G70 deal with a rebate if you finance with Genesis. Only at Homer Skelton Hyundai. And we should let you know this portion of the show is with the weekend approaching, brought to you by the good folks at Grind City Brewing. Oh, this kind of hot weather, wouldn't the Poppy's Pills be just what the doctor ordered? That's the Pilsner that everybody loves. Of course, there's the Godhopper. They love that pale ale. 2 new products. The Amber Lager Thaddeus, that's high up on everybody's list. And this new kind of Blue Moon thing, Belga. That's the Belgian-style wheat ale. People love that. There's the old Tiger Tail with a little more alcohol content, that craft malt liquor that's not like your dad's malt liquor. All these products local from the brewery right downtown, Grind City Brewing. There is a taste of Memphis. We pause for a second. Steve Earhart on Conference Roulette. That's next.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to real sports talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. In these uncertain economic times, there are so many things as a contractor and a business owner that I cannot control. The rising cost of materials, not to mention fuel and transportation costs. In the last 2 years, shingle prices have almost doubled and commercial materials have doubled. And I don't have to tell you what fuel costs these days. But you know what I can control? How much markup I put on a project. I have always prided myself in knowing I never gouge a customer. But in an effort to ensure my crews have work and my customers are being treated fairly, I have lowered my profit margin, hoping to give you a price you can live with and keeping my crews busy. So if you need a roof or gutters, please give us a call. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. Fiveash Roofing, a proud sponsor of Tiger Athletics and a member of the Tigers home team. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
All 650 acquisition fee, 30,000 miles, 20 cents excess mileage. Sportage P718, 2870, MSRP 28185. Seltos R752, 4361, MSRP 26015. Forte PG 211771, MSRP 21910. Includes all rebates and incentives. Must finance through Hyundai. Excludes tax, title, and license with approved credit. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through 7/31/23. Dealer stock only. Warranties are limited. Powertrain warranty. See Kia.com or retailer for details.
Hey, Jeff Allen, I hear things are heating up over there at Gossett Kia South Mount Moriah.
It's the hottest pricing we've ever had, Randy. 2023 Kia Forte gets 41 MPG highway at only $259 a month. $27.99 do-it signing. And a 2023 Sportage Vacation Ready at $308 a month. $34.99 do-it signing. Both 36-month lease.
And how about the new 2024 Seltos LX?
$295 a month with $29.99 do-it signing and 24-month lease.
And Kia's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty to boot.
So whether you live in Horn Lake, South Haven, Olive Branch, or Memphis, you'll be happy at Gossett Kia on Mount Moriah.
Gossett Kia South, 2680 Mount Moriah or KiaMountMoriah.com.
It's Wrangler season out there. Warmer days, cooler nights. Open roads, endless horizons. And you need to be ready in jeans made for the unpredictable. Wrangler, for the ride of life. Shop our newest styles today at Wrangler.com.
If you've been around Memphis for a while, like I have, you're going to love this. An all-new, totally revolutionary kind of jewelry store has arrived. Hey, it's Eric Hasseltine, and I'm proud to tell you about the all-new Genesis Diamonds, now open at Poplar Commons. Genesis Diamonds takes jewelry shopping to a whole new level. It's a gorgeous showroom with 30 times the selection of an ordinary store. No middleman direct importer prices on diamonds, no commission salespeople, and the strongest warranties and guarantees in the industry. Genesis is the official jeweler of the Tennessee Titans, and they've dominated Nashville, Louisville, and Cincinnati for years. Now they're here in Memphis with a multi-million-dollar collection of exquisite diamonds, over 4,000 engagement rings, and endless selection of fine fashion jewelry, all at prices you never thought possible. This is a game changer. Please don't buy jewelry anywhere until you experience the amazing difference at Genesis. Genesis Diamonds, now open in Poplar Commons at Poplar and Perkins Extended.
O'Reilly Auto Parts Loaner Tool Program offers more than 80 specialty tools. Refundable deposit required. Stop by O'Reilly today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Steve Earhart's going to join us in just 1 second. We'll call it the conference roulette. We'll talk a little bit about what's going on with all the expansion and the Big 12. And Steve has worn many hats. He's been a commissioner, an assistant commissioner, director of bowl games, coaching. Knows sports business beautifully. Also knows a little bit about golf. And you know why he likes Miramichi? Because he's got choice. Like the many hats he wears, he loves that many tee boxes to choose from. And with my guy, Mr. E, he's going to choose the one that is most advantageous to him to try to win a golf game. And he loves Miramichi because he loves the beauty and he loves the fact that he can creep up on about 5 different tee boxes if the competition calls for it. Miramichi's great. And, by the way, if you play early, you beat the heat. If you play a little bit later afternoon, you get $10 off the original price. Then you get even more off after 3 o'clock. They are always enticing you for many reasons to go play the beautiful Miramichi, 12 minutes north of downtown, 19 minutes from my house in East Memphis, in Woodstock. Miramichi. Steve Earhart, you join us now. You know the business. You see Big 12 news with Colorado coming. There's more coming. Memphis is mentioned. There's a lot of people all bummed out here thinking it's over for Memphis. Give me your take on what's going on between the Big 12, and you got to throw the Pac-12 in there because what happens with that conference and their commissioner and their TV deal is definitely going to affect the Big 12. Good morning.
You're right, David. There's a lot of activity going on right now. There's phone calls flying all over the darn place. Of course, we still have a great relationship with the Big 12. We have a Big 12 team play in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl every year. And in fact, if you throw out Texas and Oklahoma, which are gone, they're playing this last year, but we've had every single team, including the 4 new teams, BYU, Cincinnati, Central Florida, and Houston, in our AutoZone Liberty Bowl game. So the way I would look at it is, number one, aside from you, Dave, you're plugged in nationally, but the guy who has the most up-to-date is Brett McMurphy on Action Network. So any of your listeners that really want to know, he's done a pretty good job. He's got an analysis of all the hypothetical situations today, and he does include Memphis in that hunt. And there's no question that the Big 12 is not going to stay with an odd number. So they're at 13 right now, and so that, starting in 24, they've still got Texas and Oklahoma this year, but so they'll be adding at least 1, if not 3 teams, and that potentially opens the door for a lot of different teams. I know Brett Yormark has been pretty open about talking about Connecticut because, remember, he comes from the Northeast. He was in the basketball business all those years with the Brooklyn Nets, and he's touting an idea to try and separate football television deals from basketball deals. Right now, when ESPN, for example, buys the SEC, they buy everything. It's basketball, football, the whole works. So the distribution that you hear, the big numbers for the SEC or the Big Ten, includes all their sports. But one of his ideas is to try and break those apart and down the road in 4 or 5 years get a basketball deal and get a football deal separately. Now, whether that works or not, I'm not sure that companies like ESPN are too enamored with that. But again, there's a lot of changes going on there too. So it certainly opens the door. You've got a Connecticut possibility. You've got the 4 corner schools, which Colorado's always been a little different than Arizona State, and Utah, because when I was out at Colorado years ago as a dumb young assistant coach, we were wedded with Big 12 teams, the Oklahoma States, the Iowa States, the Kansas schools, and so on. And
they were the 7th team of the Big 8, right? Weren't they?
Well, we were the 7th team in the Big 7, and then it became the Big 8, and then it became the Big 12. And Colorado was always part of that, and it was a good relationship. But the only reason they left was I would call it some of the, some of the constituents thought, well, to go tie up with Southern California would be good for getting students to come to Boulder, Colorado. So with USC and UCLA leaving the conference, so everybody acts like this is a big surprise with Colorado. I don't think it was a surprise at all, because once USC and UCLA left, that lure of having Colorado tied to Southern California was gone. Plus, over the last 10 years, it's my understanding, I don't want to necessarily be quoted, but I've heard that over the 10 years, the amount of revenue that a Big 12 team received was much greater than what Colorado has received from the Pac-12. So I think I saw statistics that showed that Baylor had received $70 million more over a 10-year period than Colorado received from the Pac-12. So, when the Pac-12 said it was such a surprise, I don't think it was a surprise at all. So anyway, getting back to Memphis, I think you've got to look and see, does Arizona or Arizona State or Utah, does that really, whet the appetite of the Big 12? Or does Oregon and Washington, big-time programs, do they whet the appetite? So Yormark always says, I want to have a national league much like the Big Ten, who's got now USC on the West Coast, on the East Coast, they've got Maryland and Rutgers and everything in between. So right now, I think the key things to watch, if Oregon and Washington, who are the two big dogs out there now, if they stay with the Pac-12 or the Pac-9, whatever they are now, then I think that that opens the door for potential of Memphis. If they decide to jump, which they very well could, then that makes it even tougher because you got some big time, name brand teams, at least nationally, Oregon and Washington in play. So it's a complicated tree, but I know these folks at the University of Memphis are working hard.
What I think what you said here is if Oregon and Washington stay, the Arizona schools might stay. And they're all waiting on Kliavkoff to come up with a TV deal. Why is it taking so long?
Well, for example, ESPN shut their, ESPN's not interested in them because they've got all their money into they really paid a ton to get the total control of the SEC, on a big, huge deal. And then they've got a piece of the ACC and a piece of the Big 12. So, they've spent their money, plus ESPN's in play in their own damn, financial situation. So ESPN's out. Fox doesn't seem to be interested without the USC and the UCLA markets. So, there's just not many places to turn. And I think the reason it's taken so long is I think they were trying to be, cute or strategic and look at these streamers and hopefully that, on Amazon, Apple, one of these Peacock or somebody in the streaming business would get involved. And I'm not sure they know where they're coming from. I think the experiment is still going with the NFL on how much money does the streamers make from telecasting NFL games. So, yeah, there's so many things in play, but I certainly wish the University of Memphis well, and I know they're working very hard, and trying to get the name out there and get the education of these other schools, and that's one thing we've tried to be very helpful with from the AutoZone Liberty point of view by having, Big 12 teams play in our game. So it's certainly the ball game is on. That's 100% for sure.
Yeah. Last thing, what about the ACC, and what about Jim Phillips? Is he going to stay there? Is the Northwestern thing going to doom him? What do you think?
I personally think Jim Phillips is a good, solid guy, and I don't think he's in any danger. I think he's an accomplished guy that's well respected. But who knows? There's something comes out every day, and people are after everybody in this world today. But he has said that the ACC is open for a potential expansion. I know that's a possibility for Memphis as well, because you look at there's some great rivalry teams there from the old days with Louisville and Florida State and, the Virginias and North Carolina. So that would be a potential landing spot for Memphis as well. So, yeah, and I know, they're working very hard to get the Memphis, all the attributes about the University of Memphis, the R1 status now academically, and then getting the improvements at the stadium done. I think and people are paying attention to that. We've been at the Big 12 meetings and made sure that every one of the Big 12 athletic directors and coaches knew about the improvements to the stadium that are underway and are scheduled to start right after our game. Our AutoZone Liberty Bowl game date is December 29th, so immediately after that, hopefully the construction will start and get a really great new look at the AutoZone Liberty Bowl.
As you said it best, the game is on. Let's hope things go well for Memphis. Stay tuned. See what happens with the Pac-12. That's the next step. Thank you, Steve. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, David.
Steve Earhart, our guru, head honcho, big cheese of the AutoZone Liberty Rolls. Brought to you by Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, electric, home of the tune-up. That's what makes your system stay in check. It lasts longer. You're efficient. You save money on your MLGW bill. They come in, if you call 384-3511 for $69, 16 points of emphasis. They tune inside. They clean up everything outside, and your system lasts a long, long time. Mine did for 18 years, all because of Conway. And this portion of the show is brought to you by the Eflin Insurance Team. You know Matt. You know how he does it. It's called collaboration. He's a firm believer in getting to know you and your family so that he can best protect you. And he will do that, I promise. That's the great thing about Matt. He's going to find out all about your family. He's going to find out that your cars, about your mortgage, life insurance, what's important. Focus everything in, find your budget, and then protect you. Same thing with small to mid-sized businesses. with commercial insurance. His specialty are those smaller groups. He'll get to know your employees, your product, how you will future out. He'll forecast you, and then he'll protect you once he knows what your budget is. All you got to do is call 901-386-4777. That spells out Gurr because he's a big Tiger guy. 901-386-4777. Get protected the collaborative way. Talk to Matt at the Eflin Insurance Team. Back in a minute, Brian Dacus. We'll end the week with him as we always do right here on Wolo and Friends.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Hi, folks. You don't have to drive an ugly car to get good mileage or a low price. Sunrise Chevy has 10 models that get 30 miles per gallon. Choose from Chevy Camaros, Corvettes, Blazers, Silverados, and the all-new 23 Colorado. Right now, Sunrise Chevy has hundreds of new cars and trucks available and in stock, ready for immediate delivery. And Sunrise has financing for everyone, regardless of past credit. A huge selection of used cars and trucks starting at $99.95. Come on, man. Don't be that guy driving a nasty car. Find new roads in the car of your dreams at Sunrise Chevy, 385 in Houston, Levy, and Collierville.
Angie's List is now Angie, and we've heard a lot of theories about why.
I thought it was an eco move. Fewer words, less paper.
No, it was so you could say it faster.
No, it's to be more iconic.
Must be a tech thing.
But those aren't quite right. It's because now you can compare upfront prices, book a service instantly, and even get your project handled from start to finish.
Sounds easy.
It is, and it makes us so much more than just a list. Get started at Angie.com. That's ANGI, or download the app today.
Summer's here, and Gossett Kia on the Pike has the hottest deals you'll find anywhere in the Mid-South. Hit the highway with 41 MPG Highway 2023 Kia Forte LXS, $259 a month, $27.99 due at signing. 2023 Sportage LX 308 a month, $34.99 due at signing. And 2023 World Performance Car 2023 Kia EV6 Wind. EPA estimated range 310 miles, $499 a month, $49.99 due at signing. All 36-month leases plus Kia's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. Ask for Bobby J. He's ready to put you in a new Kia today. Gossett Kia, 1900 Covington Pike, or online, KiaCovingtonPike.com.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
All 650 acquisition fee, 30,000 miles, 20 cents excess mileage. Forte PE 641,916, MSRP 21,910. Sportage P 718,270, MSRP 28,185. EV6 P 510, 5073, MSRP 49,965. Includes all rebates and incentives. Must finance through Hyundai. Excludes tax title and license with approved credit. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through 7/31/23. Dealer stock only. Warranties. A limited powertrain warranty. See Kia.com or retailer for details.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
J-Mo, we got any breaking news audio that we can find real quick? Because Brian Dacus has some breaking news he will give you in a minute. I'll let you know. Brian, brought to you by Sheldon. There is nothing more gratifying than when you've got one of your professional peers that calls you and asks you for some advice or help. And that happens all the time to Sheldon over all the years. He's been asked to sell properties from many retired or former real estate brokers because they know how good he is, and he knows this marketing strategy he's got is so excellent. The track record, the reputation, all in one. It gets you quicker to the closing table. And while it does sound crazy, he's going to say, talk to 2 or 3 real estate brokers when you're thinking of selling your home, but make sure he's one of them. Then he'll tell you about that strategic marketing program. He'll tell you how he gets you to the closing table so quickly. He'll have you do this or that and whatever, and then you're making your money that quickly. Yeah, all you got to do is call 483-0546, or you can go to memphisrelocate.com. He's got that relocate in there for a reason. Sheldon. Relocate.com. That's memphisrelocate.com, or 483-0546. We've got breaking news.
That was
Wait a second.
That was perfect. I love that.
No. All the money we pay you, and that's the best.
That's all the money.
Are you telling me I got what I paid for?
I think you got more than what you paid.
Wow.
How about that?
Can we hear it again?
No, we don't want to hear it again. We want to hear the breaking news.
So it looks like Rocco Miller, who he's a bracketologist, also covers college basketball, bracketeer.org. is his site. He's reporting that some of the scheduling for the battle for Atlantis is starting to come out. It sounds like Memphis versus Michigan will be the opening game for the Tigers.
So
and
Penny
Michigan.
and Juwan Howard
be
to
fun
open
matchup.
things up
Yeah.
down in
That'll be a lot of fun.
Atlantis. Woo!
Who knows what Michigan looks like?
Hey, let me
they
just tell
lost
you,
some.
if you're a fan and you go there, at least this is the way it's been in the past.
Mm-hmm.
If you win your first game, you are set up
yeah.
for beach in the morning and games in the afternoon.
Perfect.
However, if you lose your first game,
you're in trouble.
you never see the beach.
Well, let's get a win first game.
I'm with you. Let's get Michigan. All right, so yesterday he had his press conference. This is all about going to the Dominican.
Sure.
But when we walked in the place, it was crazy because everybody was talking about getting Walton.
Yeah.
What's your take about that and what he had to say yesterday?
Yeah, so I mean, the Jaquan Walton news was, it was a secret that was very well kept by the university. I know Jason Munns I think he said he kind of started hearing about it a couple days before it was announced by the university. But it really, you don't usually see something like this where you don't get an announcement from the player, you don't get an announcement from the school. It's just a picture from the team Twitter page, and he's in it. And so Jaquan Walton, I think, is a big-time addition. Kind of weird how his summer is gone. I mean, he played at Wichita State last year, averaged about 14 points, 40% from three. Ends up wanting to go back home, commits to Alabama, then gets some arrested for a marijuana charge. Ended up charges were dropped, but Alabama stopped recruiting him after that happened. So he gets back into the transfer portal.
Believe there were initial gun charges in there too that never made it.
That's right. And
I don't believe the gun was his,
No,
but
no.
Alabama, based on Brandon Miller last year, didn't want anything to do with it.
And so, but all the charges were eventually dropped, and so he gets back into the transfer portal, commits to UCF. He's been a UCF commit for since about May. And then just out of nowhere, he's a Tiger. But Penny talked after the practice yesterday and kind of said that this is a guy they've been recruiting for a really, really long time. I think Tubby was the first person to reach out to him in high school. And then when Penny got the job, it was a guy he was really looking at. He ended up going to Georgia. And so this is a guy that I think Penny is very familiar with his game, obviously recruiting him out of high school, then seeing him last year at Wichita State. So I think it'll be a really good fit.
He never showed up in Orlando, did he?
No, not that I know of.
So,
no.
yeah, and Penny said yesterday he always wanted to be a Tiger.
Yeah.
I don't know why the UCF thing happened. That's strange.
I'm wondering if it was just if it was a numbers game and he wanted to be a Tiger, but at that point Memphis just had too many guys.
And maybe Teofale Leonard's
could've
not
been,
making it. Opened the door for him.
It really well could have been. So very interesting situation, I think. But I think it brings you, I think one of the biggest questions last year and going into this season was where are you going to get the three-point shooting from? And 40% last year on about 4 3-point attempts per game, I think he'll bring you a lot in the shooting department.
Well, actually, and his son, too.
Yeah.
He said, we don't really have any specialists. Then he corrected himself.
That's
He said, well, my son Ashton
he's
is a
shooter.
three-point shooter.
He's a really good three-point shooter. So I think
and you know what? Jaden's numbers last year were not bad.
No, they're not bad at all.
From three-point range.
Yeah.
He didn't get that many attempts.
No, and I think he'll get more playing time this year. I think you've seen year by year he gets more comfortable, and so I think he'll be very comfortable as kind of that veteran presence on this team. He also talked about Mikey. I mean, it sounds like he really wants Mikey to be on this team, and I think you got to in some way kind of feel for the kid, and obviously a terrible decision. But I think Mikey understands what he did was wrong, and Penny.
Let's be careful.
Yes,
Yes,
you're very
what he's charged with, because he has proclaimed his innocence.
That is right. But so I think Penny is still in his corner. I think that's what you have to do as a head coach, and so it sounds like he wants him to be there. I'm just as the days go by, it's hard for me to think Mikey's going to be.
Well, here's the thing, and I asked him point blank yesterday.
Yeah,
I said, his court date is not until September 8th. Classes start 8 days earlier. What's the length of time that is allowable for this? And I've heard different people say you were granted a couple of exceptions and it could all work out.
Yeah.
But Penny himself said, I don't know. I'm going to have to check on it, which I'm not sure. I think it's more like he doesn't really want to talk about it yet.
I think so, too. I mean, it's a very tricky situation. I think ideally you would have had his preliminary court hearing back in June when it was supposed to happen. And so I think this isn't ideal for Coach Hardaway, but we'll just have to see how it works out.
All right. Last thing. I don't have this blues everybody does about expansion because I think it's just begun. I've said this before. even Brett McMurphy. Thank goodness McMurphy wrote his story because everybody was saying it's done.
Yeah.
And there's going to be 3 openings. And then who knows what's going to go on with the ACC. And as I try to remind people all the time, and they never seem to get it, this is evolutionary. It always changes. It's never over.
Yes.
And so, like, if you miss this window, doesn't mean you're going to miss forever. And people are frustrated because, I get that.
Yeah.
You didn't get in with UCF, Cincinnati, and Houston. You probably should have. Okay, I get that. And I get the paranoia because of it. But because Colorado just started things doesn't mean you're done.
Yeah, no, I think I'm always kind of a glass half full type of guy. And so I think when you see this movement, you got to feel good. I think ultimately we end up with probably 4 power conferences made up of 20 teams. And so I think that's kind of where we're going. You see 16 in the SEC and the Big Ten. So I think the Big 12, I think it would be I just think it would be easy to add 4 teams right now and have 16 when both the SEC and the Big Ten get 16 teams. So I think you're going to see them add 3 more. I think you got to keep an eye on what the Pac-12 does with kind of their media rights deal. I think you're really hoping that they get something in place.
You're waiting on Oregon and Washington.
You are.
And if they agree, then I think the Arizona schools stay.
Yeah.
And Memphis has a chance.
Yeah.
All you can do is wait, and then if that doesn't happen, there's still the ACC. You got to see what happens with them.
I think the ACC is a big one because they haven't done anything since expansion has started, and so I think at some point they're going to have to add some teams.
Jim Phillips reminded everybody they're the number 3 revenue school at this point, and they don't want to lose that.
Not at
They
all.
got to hold on to Florida State and Clemson.
Got
but
to.
at this point, it's pretty penal financially to leave. Who knows? I think we're just beginning.
I think so,
Stay
too.
tuned.
Yes.
Thank you, my friend. We
Thank you.
appreciate it. Final portion of the show brought to you by Eddie Connor in the Spirit Shop. Yeah, the weekend's here for me, not for Bryant. He'll be on from 3 to 6 with J-Mo and with Brett Norsworthy. Brett was gone yesterday because of the Ole Miss Network stuff that he was doing. Man, he's going to have a lot to you know him with football. He's going to go crazy today. Don't miss that, and don't miss out on restocking for the weekend at the easiest, cheapest, best place to go. That would be the Spirit Shop right at the corner of Poplar and St. Nick. I was there a couple of days ago, filling up for the weekend. 4848 Poplar, the little log cabin you've passed by forever, right down from Clark Tower. It's not so little inside. Full of product, full of bargains, full of valuable things, full of education if you want to talk to the people. They'll tell you all about what to get right now and why. Spirit Shop, right around the corner from you in East Memphis. So easy. Stock up for the weekend. We'll see you. I'll be off for about a week. I'll see you next Friday. Have a great weekend. Homer